Trump's madman tactics. Are they genuinely strategic, or are they a flailing gesture of a leader obsessed with attention? What are the implications of unpredictability as a foreign policy tool?
It's unpredictable, and I think Cuba can speak to that. I mean, it just makes it hard for anyone to gauge who their alliances are going to be. It's going to make everyone paranoid, because even if you don't act off it, markets and investors and whatnot do.
Similarly, how do you plan for the next cycle of investment, the next political program, the next 5 years, 10 years down the road, when you have the country that is supposed to be the steward and guarantor of the international economy threatening to knock it all over, or come in and take your stuff? The climate for investment, especially cross-border international flows, that is, it's never been worse. This type of uncertainty is the worst possible condition for any type of strategic planning, private sector or public sector. And frankly, it makes the PRC look good and the Belt and Road Initiative much more attractive, because the Chinese don't do this kind of crap.
No, they don't. Although we do have to deal with the fact that Belt and Road Initiative has been stalled since the Ukraine war, and there's 30% unemployment in China. But this could actually help undo a lot of that. I don't know. 30% youth unemployment, not general unemployment. Let me be very specific on that. The Chinese do look like the more responsible actor. The one thing I will say, though, is we normally focus on Europe as a bellwether for where all this goes, and Europe is increasingly less relevant. And I know Cuba may agree or disagree with me, but like India, China, Russia is where a lot of the movement is outside of the United States. And it's unclear to me, I know that certain tariffs that Trump has been threatening on the PRC would be bad for the PRC, but they have been gearing up for decoupling, because frankly, that was true with the Democrats too. It's not like they weren't also picking up on all this stuff, and that goes all the way back to Obama. The first gambit in forced decoupling wasn't thrown by Xi, it was thrown by Obama. But ask all those regimes in the Middle East that played ball as black sites, and that included Syria and Iran, what reward they got for it. And it becomes a lot more clear if that kind of mentality is now everyone on the planet. In some ways it's fair, but you're going to have the similar instabilities. And I also think there's going to be a lot more maneuvering between other countries, because one of the things that I think doesn't get talked about enough when people talk about multipolarity is that eventually Russia, China, and India have divergent interests, since they're the three big powers right by each other. And historically, they've always had problems for that reason. I
think that, be that as it may, right? In some ways, I think that Russia, China, and India, the core of sort of Eastern Eurasia, yes, there were issues around the border, but with increasing economic integration, the border of Russia and China looks less and less like the dividing line between power blocks and more like the Canadian-US border in its heyday. There are economic complementarities to these three powers. China is an alternative source for manufactured goods and high-tech products. It requires the raw resources and energy coming out of Russia and to a certain extent India, as well as passage connection to Western Eurasia and Iran. It could very well be that the replacement to a rules-based international order is rules-based regional orders, plural, with bilateral, trilateral, quadrilateral, you name the polygon, associations of countries creating mechanisms for regular economic exchange or exchange of people, goods, finance, that will operate without US or Western participation and not claim to be a global system. Then you end up with the challenge of trying to create a system of systems, or taking multipolarity to its logical conclusion, you have conflicts between these systems over which one will establish itself as the global operating structure. I think that there's as much room for, just as this conflict that Trump is drumming up between Canada, the United States, the EU, the core powers of the Western Atlantic Alliance, just as this unexpectedly resonates, so too there could be unexpected affinities and a foundation for cooperation between India, China, Russia.
Agreed.